The top earning YouTube channels in every country. It's funny how I've been making YouTube videos for like 10 years and I've been watching nothing but YouTube for even longer than that. And yet there's gonna be a lot of these channels I have never heard of before. I have, however, heard of the one in the US. That is one of the greatest of all time, CoComelon. They were reportedly making almost $300 million. Now that I think about it, I guess it shouldn't be a surprise that I've never heard of a lot of these channels since I don't speak Spanish or Portuguese, at least when it comes to Latin America. It's more likely I'd recognize the channels that speak English. In the UK, we have Dan TDM. I don't know why, I always thought his name was Dan EDM for a long time. Like, of course, in Ireland, completely unsurprisingly, we have Jacksepticeye. I actually thought I would know the top channel in Australia, but no. Going around and looking at these numbers, I'm not exactly sure how accurate it is or how they gathered this data, just from personal experience. Like, this website has me at an estimated net worth of about 5 million. I promise you, I do not have 5 million. And it could be as high as 6 million. Okay, I don't even know where they're getting this number. Maybe they think I do like Raid and NordVPN sponsorships in every single video. This is interesting in China because isn't YouTube banned in China? So how does that work? And in Taiwan, the top channel is God. Interesting how often these colors pop up. Specifically, we have gaming and then kids channels. That's pretty much what this whole world map is dominated by. Wait a second, there's a top channel for North Korea. But yeah, as you can see, for the most part, it's just like nursery rhymes that just dominate. One fun game you could do to see what other channels are watching is to use a VPN to change your location to just another country around the world. And then just open up like a blank incognito YouTube page. Maybe that's why I'm being suggested to watch a Malaysian live stream right now. I shouldn't even change my location. I don't know why it's giving me that. While we're on that subject, here's the top 10 YouTube channels by subscriber count. T-Series is still number 1, and they are way out ahead at 231 million. CoComelon has a lot of catching up to do. Then there's Set India, MrBeast, and PewDiePie. I can't believe WWE is one of the top 10 YouTube channels. Like, out of everything, that's just not what I expected. Look at the individuals with a YouTube channel versus the companies with a YouTube channel. Like MrBeast and PewDiePie, they get significantly less video views. That's obviously because these companies can just pump out so much content. It actually just shows just how huge these two actually really are. I'm still trying to make it to my first 1 billion views. I think if you were to combine all my channels, I'm getting close, but on this main one, I still have a ways to go. And it is always very important to point out just how many people live in India, almost 1.4 billion. That will forever be why they continue to just dominate YouTube, especially because China has it banned. If China were to unban it, that'd be crazy. Like, both these two countries are 4 times bigger than the US. The top Googled games in every European country. I'm actually a little bit surprised that Fortnite still dominates a lot of Western Europe. I thought it was pretty much over now. We have one outlier though, Portugal with Pokemon. Germany and a lot of Northern Europe still very big fans of WoW. Almost all of the Nordic countries. Except for Iceland, they're still obsessed with Minecraft, which makes sense. Living in Iceland is like actually playing real life Minecraft. And then in a lot of Eastern Europe, there's a massive civil war between Minecraft and Roblox. Roblox seems to be really taking over, especially the Balkans. This actually explains why so many Balkan memes I review actually are in like Roblox templates. The Balkans and the Baltics seem to love this game. Only 2 more outliers, Switzerland and also Greece with EA Sports FIFA. What's insane is that echoes from the Cold War can still be felt inside of Germany. It's actually the Western side that loves World of Warcraft and the Eastern that loves Minecraft, along with all these other countries towards the East. How? I'm actually just so shocked. Even Berlin itself, which again was under like the West side, even they too like World of Warcraft. That is like, it's scary. Like, it's been more than 30 years and yet Germany is still divided more than ever. This new Cold War is now being fought between which is the best crafting game, I guess. They just love to do all sorts of crafting over here. I guess this data could be very informative. If you want to meet someone from one of these countries, you should probably pick up whatever game you're seeing here. I love meeting people from the Balkans. I'm about to play Roblox all night. So the entirety of all US history has occurred within a single Pluto orbit. Now, Pluto is no longer considered a planet, but it is the large rock outside of Neptune. Large rock, I don't know. It's a dwarf planet though. So Pluto was located all the way up here back in 1776 when the US got their independence. 6 years later, and it went all the way to right here. By the end of the US Civil War, which is 1865, it made it to like a third of its rotation around the sun. By the start of the 20th century, it was down at the bottom of the sun, or, you know, bottom considering this diagram. We discovered Pluto in 1930, and it was like halfway through its orbit. 1969, we landed on the moon. We discovered Charon, Pluto's little sister, in 1978, launched the New Horizons in 2006, and we are about to finally make a full rotation. There's only a few more years left. Crazy if like the US collapses before that happens, right? Maybe I shouldn't put that into the air. I don't want to test it. I don't really know what to say more. Like, either Pluto just takes a really long time to go around the sun, or the US is just a really, really young nation. Probably a little bit of both. Then again, we're not actually that young when considering all things. It's hard to say. It's hard to define when a country was truly independent. I mean, sometimes modern Germany is listed as being founded in 1949, but also 1871. But then what about the Holy Roman Empire? It gets complicated. A lot of these places actually have a long time to go before they can say they survived through one Pluto orbit. The top government space budgets in every country across the world. And as you can see, the US US is outspending pretty much everyone combined at 54 billion. The second place nation, China, is only spending 10. And then actually Japan is in third. I feel like I never hear about the Japanese space program. France is not too far behind, and wow, how Russia has fallen. This probably is just not too high on their priority list as of recently. Some other surprising members here: Germany, India, Italy, UK, and then South Korea. Even South Korea is spending almost $500 million on their space agency. It's gonna be real interesting to see where these numbers go in the next 10 years. I guess part of the reason why the US is spending so much is for this Artemis mission, which plans to enable human exploration to the moon and Mars. I'm just trying to live long enough to see someone go to Mars. Like, please. I feel like I'm probably gonna have to be real old before I can see that. Here's a very old Pan American Airways map in 1933. Keep in mind, this was only 30 years after the first flight ever. So I think we were still kind of getting down the kinks. It really reminds me of the early days of the age of colonization when all the European powers were discovering the continents. They're kind of just like hovering around the coast. They probably didn't trust like going too far out into sea. And you also probably didn't want to get lost in the Amazon rainforest as well. This is also way before World War II, which would end up seeing huge improvements to aviation in general. I don't know why I'm seeing a mushroom cloud right here. Well, I mean, I think I do, but if you wanted to go from Miami, Florida to the capital of Argentina, Buenos Aires, it would take you 7 days. 7 days by plane. So they'd start you off in Cuba, they'd make a couple stops in the Caribbean, they'd finally make it to the continent of South America, I think in like 3 days. Yeah, because it would take them 2 days to make it to Panama. And every single one of these large circles, you'd have to do an overnight stop. That's why it would take you 7 days. Keep in mind though, 7 days is still pretty good compared to every other mode of transportation at this time. To go from Miami to Argentina, that would take supposedly about 35 days or more at this time in 1933. And I think I complained about having just one layover. I've weirdly dived very deep into like aviation accidents. A lot of that stuff like went down in like the 50s, 60s, 70s. I don't even want to think about what was going on in the 1930s. There is no way I'd be getting on one of these planes. Like, there's no way you can convince me they knew what they were really doing. Highest and lowest petrol prices around the world. The average per liter is $1.20, and as you can see, most of Europe is way above that. UK at $1.87. Canada's about at the average, and the US is at 93 cents. Venezuela, obviously, they're like drowning in it. They're good. Like 2 cents per liter. Don't really know much about how Brazil gets their petrol, but this is an interesting price. Uruguay seems to be struggling the most in South America, though. Not as much as the Central African Republic, though. They are above $2. Yeah, see, of course, if your nation has access to a lot of oil, I mean, they're going to be okay. I'm wondering why Norway is so high, then. And most countries around this part of the world are hovering around $1. New Zealand's kind of struggling, though. The most expensive is actually Hong Kong, and then it's the Netherlands at 2. They're above car. Car, get it? Like petrol, car. Not the time. Yeah, a lot of Europe is really struggling, and actually a large part of Africa doing okay. Angola, Algeria, Nigeria, Ethiopia, and this is a world map that always seems to be fluctuating from year to year. I guess this is why the Netherlands decided to bike everywhere. I guess it's a good thing that Europe has other modes of transportation if needed. We are heavily reliant on this here in the US, though. Our dependent infrastructure. What everyone is called from each US state, you'd be surprised at how much of this I don't know. I am from California, and therefore I am a Californian, but I was also born in Alabama. I know, just make the jokes now. And therefore I was an Alabamian. I've said that before, but I always felt like that was wrong. Like something just doesn't seem right about Alabamian. Alabamian. That just seems made up. Floridian also sounds a little bit weird. It's like they're just consuming fluoride there, which, I mean, maybe. I think the most known of all these is Texan. Can't escape that. What if you're from Hawaii? You're just a Hawaiian resident? That has to be the strangest on the map. I guess they cannot technically be considered a Hawaiian. That's a whole different thing. We have Alaskans in Alaska, and Arizonan in Arizona. Utahan? Is that how you say that? Utahan.
Utahan.
Why do I feel like I never heard that before? Or maybe I'm just like weirded out by the spelling. Oregonian and Washingtonian. Wyomingite? That literally just sounds like a Pokemon. I think people from Wyoming are pretty much as rare as Pokemon. Same for Wisconsinite. Always laughed at Michigander. I like when they just come out of nowhere with something else. Hoosiers, of course. Indiana. I'm so surprised that this is correct because it just sounds wrong. Delawarean? Connecticuter? Who came up with this stuff? That's what I want to know. I'm pretty sure everyone just says mass hole here. I think we should all just adopt the Indiana strategy and just pick some random name. Instead of Alabamian, I vote for us to be called the Family Lovers. See, there we go. This person's on to something. A map of Europe, including every country's sea territory. This is extremely hard to recognize, but we have the British Isles here. I actually thought the British would actually have a lot more control over the North Sea. It seems like Ireland has a lot more sea territory compared to their size. Of course, a lot of these countries here are mostly landlocked, so like Switzerland, Austria, they have no sea territory. Germany actually barely gets any as well. All these poor countries have to share the Baltic Sea. Denmark actually gets something away from their like continental land. How are they allowed to get this? Like, how did this not go to Norway? I mean, Norway got this up here. I also realized that Denmark controls Greenland. Italy pretty much controls the entire center of the Mediterranean, and then Greece gets all this side over here. They're constantly fighting Turkey with that. Turkey, Romania, Ukraine, Russia, they all share the Black Sea. Doesn't seem like a lot of these North African countries get a lot of the Mediterranean. Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria. The biggest standout on the map by far is Portugal, and I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that they have a lot of islands out here. The YouTube channel Caspian Report actually did a fantastic video about this. They're reviving that whole Portuguese empire out here. Surprised that France actually doesn't have a lot more too. Oh, and Spain is disconnected, but that's also because they have islands here as well. Iberia is strong, I guess. Percentage of population in Europe which speak no foreign language. Now, a lot of Northern Europe is very low on this list since they're taught at a very young age English or another language. Same for the Netherlands as well. They're actually very good at English. Places that have actually a lot of official languages inside them, like Switzerland, a lot of the population can speak at least 2 or 3. Of course, France is infamous for only speaking French, but I actually thought these numbers would be higher. The UK is way higher. 65% of their population do not speak a foreign language. Spain also pretty high with Spanish down here, but not as high as some of the places in the Balkans, Albania, Bosnia. We also have Hungary and Romania. There seems to be a correlation between how small your country is and the likelihood that, you know, your population brings at least a second language to the table. That's the thing. If you're like interacting with other people with other languages constantly, you're going to be able to pick up another language for sure. I really want to see the US numbers for this now. Something like only 20% of Americans can converse in 2 or more languages. I actually thought we'd be a little bit higher with that because we have Spanish, but I am completely unsurprised that Europe is blowing us out of the water. That means our number is 80% of our population does not speak a second language. And big thanks to my patrons. Drew, I'm stalking you and will kidnap you December 27th, 2022. DJ McSkillet,
aPhatNarwhal,
Drew's Argentinian
$20 is a lot.
Bjarne Wildfang,
Bring back
Evan
Poland
Pryce,
balls.
GoodOldRyah,
Kilgore is
LuxembourgLover,
Nova
Gamer,
Veiotic,
Bassall, 69, 610,
Phresh
Robert
Animations,
E,
RyeThePie,
Scottish, if you hear this, I love you. The
Lithuanian,
Mexican
Commonwealth,
760,
Twickenhamster.
and why am I doing this?